A massive and unprecedented wave of attacks has unfolded, shaking an entire nation and sending shockwaves across the region and the world. The scale of the devastation is unlike anything witnessed in recent decades, with entire cities turned into rubble, families torn apart, and a humanitarian catastrophe unfolding before our eyes. The numbers are staggering, the impact unimaginable, and the consequences likely to reshape political, economic, and military landscapes for years to come. The world is watching closely, and governments, organizations, and ordinary people are asking how this crisis escalated to such a level, and what it means for the future of stability and peace in this already fragile part of the globe. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. The initial reports began to emerge in the early hours of the morning, when multiple explosions were heard across major cities, followed by fires and widespread panic. Eyewitnesses described scenes of chaos as buildings collapsed, roads were torn apart, and emergency sirens wailed endlessly. Families rushed into the streets, some barefoot, others clutching only the few belongings they could carry. Hospitals quickly became overcrowded as waves of injured people poured in, stretching the healthcare system far beyond its capacity. Doctors and nurses worked without rest, improvising treatments in hallways and parking lots. Volunteers joined in, but the sheer number of wounded and displaced was overwhelming. The government immediately declared a national emergency, calling on citizens to remain calm while deploying security forces and rescue workers across the country. Yet the speed and coordination of the attacks left authorities scrambling, as key infrastructure, communication lines, and transport hubs were simultaneously hit. Power outages spread to multiple regions, disrupting not only daily life but also hampering rescue efforts. Firefighters battled blazes in industrial zones, while soldiers set up checkpoints to control the flow of traffic and prevent further escalation. But despite these efforts, the sense of fear and helplessness among the civilian population was palpable. Internationally, the news spread like wildfire, dominating headlines and sparking urgent meetings at the highest levels of government. Global leaders expressed alarm, condemning the violence and calling for restraint, while others pointed fingers and issued stark warnings. The United Nations convened an emergency session within hours, with member states divided on how to respond. Some demanded immediate sanctions and accountability, while others insisted on dialogue and investigation before assigning blame. Meanwhile, humanitarian organizations issued desperate appeals for aid, warning that hundreds of thousands of people were now at risk of hunger, disease, and exposure. On the ground, the human stories tell a tale of unimaginable suffering. A mother searching for her children amid the rubble of a collapsed apartment building, a father carrying his injured son for miles after failing to find an ambulance, a young girl whispering prayers in a crowded shelter, clutching a notebook that was the only thing she managed to save from her destroyed school. These individual voices, often drowned out by political debates, remind us that behind the statistics are real lives shattered in an instant. Experts analyzing the strikes have pointed out that the operation required extraordinary levels of planning, resources, and coordination. The precision and timing suggest a coalition of actors working together, sharing intelligence and weaponry to maximize impact. Analysts also warn that this could mark the beginning of a broader conflict if retaliation follows, potentially dragging in other nations and destabilizing the wider region. Economists are already predicting a sharp rise in global energy prices, given the strategic location of the affected nation and its importance to trade routes. Markets trembled as investors reacted to the uncertainty, with stocks falling and currencies fluctuating wildly. Diplomatic channels have gone into overdrive. Neighboring countries are closing borders to prevent spillover, while others are preparing for an influx of refugees. Aid convoys are assembling, but the risk of further strikes makes transportation extremely dangerous. Negotiations are being attempted through back channels, with mediators urging all parties to agree on at least a temporary ceasefire to allow humanitarian assistance. Yet mistrust and hostility remain high, raising doubts about whether such agreements can hold. Relief agencies have described the situation as one of the worst humanitarian crises of the decade. With tens of thousands already confirmed dead and many more injured, the immediate challenge is saving lives. Water systems have been damaged, leaving millions without clean drinking water. Food supplies are dwindling, with markets destroyed and transport routes blocked. Children are among the most vulnerable, with many separated from their families or orphaned by the violence. Trauma specialists warn of long-lasting psychological scars, particularly among the youngest survivors, who now associate the sound of sirens and explosions with everyday life. The destruction of schools, hospitals, and cultural landmarks adds another layer of tragedy. Entire generations risk losing access to education, further deepening the cycle of poverty and instability. Health facilities that remain standing are under extreme strain, and the lack of medicines means treatable conditions are becoming fatal. The loss of historical and religious sites is also deeply felt, erasing parts of a nation's identity and heritage that may never be recovered. Political divisions within the affected country are also intensifying. While some opposition groups have rallied around the government in a show of national unity, others accuse leaders of failing to prepare for or prevent the disaster. Protests have broken out in several cities demanding accountability and transparency. In some areas, these demonstrations have turned violent, with clashes between security forces and angry crowds. The leadership faces an enormous challenge: how to maintain stability and order while responding to the unprecedented humanitarian and security crisis. International media coverage has been relentless, with images of destruction and suffering broadcast into homes worldwide. Social media has amplified these visuals, though not without complications. Misinformation and propaganda are spreading rapidly, making it difficult for outsiders to discern fact from fiction. Analysts stress the importance of relying on verified sources, yet in an age of viral videos and doctored content, the battle over perception is as fierce as the physical conflict itself. Economic analysts warn of ripple effects beyond the immediate region. Supply chains are already disrupted, threatening industries from manufacturing to agriculture in distant countries. Shipping companies are rerouting vessels, adding costs and delays to global trade. Energy companies are bracing for higher prices, and consumers around the world may soon feel the impact at the gas pump and in their electricity bills. Investors are seeking safe havens, while governments debate how to shield their populations from the economic fallout. Amid the devastation, however, there are also stories of resilience and solidarity. Communities are coming together to share food, open homes to displaced families, and volunteer in rescue efforts. Religious leaders from different faiths are calling for peace, emphasizing compassion and unity in the face of destruction. International donors, charities, and ordinary citizens are mobilizing funds and resources to assist those in need. These acts of kindness and bravery, though small in comparison to the scale of suffering, are rays of hope in an otherwise bleak landscape. Experts caution that the path to recovery will be long and painful. Rebuilding infrastructure will require billions of dollars and years of effort. Restoring trust between communities may take generations. Addressing the psychological trauma of survivors will be a monumental task. Yet without a genuine commitment to peace and reconciliation, even reconstruction may not be enough to prevent future cycles of violence. Diplomatic efforts must therefore go beyond temporary ceasefires and relief operations. They must address the root causes of the conflict, the grievances and tensions that fueled it, and the regional rivalries that sustain it. Mediators stress that without inclusive dialogue and guarantees of security, any agreement will remain fragile. The international community has a crucial role to play, not only in funding reconstruction, but also in supporting long-term peacebuilding and reconciliation initiatives. As night falls again over devastated cities, the suffering continues. Rescue teams dig through rubble with their bare hands, hoping to find survivors. Families huddle together in makeshift shelters, uncertain of what tomorrow will bring. Doctors collapse from exhaustion, only to rise again when another wave of injured arrives. For those living through it, the crisis is not an abstract political or military drama. It is a daily struggle to survive, to protect loved ones, and to hold on to hope. For the world watching from afar, this is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences when conflicts spiral out of control. It is a call to action for leaders to put aside rivalries and prioritize human life. It is a plea for compassion and solidarity across borders, cultures, and ideologies. This story is far from over. The coming days will bring new developments, new challenges, and perhaps new opportunities for diplomacy. But for now, the priority must remain clear: save lives, provide relief, and prevent further escalation. Every hour counts, every decision matters, and the eyes of history will judge how leaders and citizens alike responded to this moment of crisis.